a brother, made 7 children in all. We had a lot of good times together. We each had chores to do. We all had to work at our jobs every day. No one in our community had running water in the house, so we had to draw water out of the well. Had to draw water to put in the reservoir on the big baby blue range, keep the wood in the wood box, and a lot of things that we done back there then that don't have to be done now. We have electric cooking stove, we have hot water, electric heater. When I was a little fella though, I wanted to go hunting with my daddy, and about 4 years old he took me hunting. We went possum hunting. He had an old dog that was just about slow enough for a 4-year-old to stay up with him probably. And when the old dog got to the rail fence, he was like the 4-year-old boy. He'd have to wait and get helped over. But still he'd go on and tree a possum, and we had a good time hunting. But I'd give out, and my daddy had to tote me back that night. But I remember another hunt we had later, and the dog treed a possum. It was up a bunch of thick vines and trees, and Papa had an axe, and he couldn't cut the trees down for the vines, and he could see the possum up there. Grandpa lived about 200 yards from there, so he told me he'd build me a little fire, and I'd stay down there with the dogs and the possum, and he'd go up to Grandpa and get the gun and shoot the possum. Well, he did, but it looked like it'd be forever. I was frightened down there in that woods, and the dogs are barking, and by myself, and looked like Daddy never would get back. So Grandpa came back with him with a gun, and he shot the possum, and it was a good sized, pretty possum, and oh, I was so proud of it. And then Papa was going to give the possum to Grandpa, but I said no, and Grandpa didn't want to take it after I wanted the possum so bad. He said, no, give it to M.T. and let him have it, and I'll come over and eat dinner with him. And so that was their decision, and we had Grandpa over for dinner, and we had possum and potatoes and stewed apples, and I was happy about the ending because I sure didn't want Grandpa to take that possum away. And I had to wear dresses and curls till I was 4 years old. I remember people teased me about being a little girl, and I didn't like that at all. I thought I was a big boy, and I thought I ought to have on pants and a haircut like a man. And I said right then I'd never make my boy wear curls, and I didn't, but he wore long hair later. They teased me about curls and said I was looked like a girl, and I'd pick up a rock to throw at them, but the rock was so heavy and big for me that I couldn't throw it. I just drop it down at the feet. That is what my mother said done. The way my big cousin would tease me, and I'd carry the rocks over there, and I couldn't throw them. I just drop them at his feet. And then later, I started to school at 6 years old. We didn't have any kindergarten in those days, and so I had to study my ABCs off of a chart. The teacher had a yardstick to point at the chart. If you forgot a letter, the teacher would tap you with the yardstick, and you sure didn't want to get tapped. she did that punch your memory if you forgot a letter. And the teachers, most of the teachers boarded at our house. And after I got bigger, I had to attend to getting in the kindling and wood for the teachers, and that looked like a lot of hard work. I'd hate for the teachers to board there, but I really loved some of them later. Some of the teachers we loved, and just they were friends all our lives. And we all sit by the fireside and study in one room, study by firelight. We didn't have much of a lamp lights. A little kerosene lamp was about all we had. The fireplace, if it had a good fire in it, was better to study by than a lamp light. And after I grew up, I wanted to drive the mules to the wagon and buggies, and I wanted to plow. Anything to do to drive the mules, and my daddy would let me walk by him there and hold the lines and walk by his side. But I didn't want to plow all day after I learned to plow. That was hard work, but I didn't realize it. In school, I had to recite a speech at the end of school about a watermelon growing on a vine, and someone stole it before it got ripe. And his daddy whipped him because he could not tell a ripe melon. And he told him a green melon went punk, and a ripe melon went pink. When I grew up, I had to go with my sisters to parties, and I was in control. I would tell them I wouldn't go if they didn't do right. When I got a bath, there was a tub of water on the floor and a bar and soap. And I was inspected to see if my neck and ears were clean. And my oldest sister would give me a scrubbing if my neck and ears wasn't clean. And boy, I'll tell you, I hated to go up for inspection. So my Aunt Molly lived about 200 or 300 yards from us, our house. Her husband would drive 9 miles to town every Saturday, and I would have to go stay till Uncle John came back on the Saturday. But he always would bring me a pound of candy from Cress's, 10-cent box of candy. It cost about 10 cents a pound, but that was a lot more candy than I'd get if Papa brought home candy. All 7 or sure a little bag of candy didn't go for. But one night, Mama wanted me to come home. It was late at night and dark when Uncle John got there, and I started home and I started to run, and I heard a tap, tap every step. Every step I made, there was a little noise on. And after something was just after me, I thought. So I pulled off my hat and really sold out. And the tap stopped. The next day I found that my hat had a metal piece on the band, and it was every step I made, it made the tapping. And so I found out it wasn't anything after me, but I thought I'd done outrun it anyhow. So my brother-in-law moved to Casita from Columbus, and he left a cab down at his place, and he wanted me to drive it down. I was just a boy, and I was glad to do it. He was going to give me $1 or $2. I don't remember just what it was. It was 20 miles, so I put halter on cab and started to carry cab to Casita. I started early, and Mama and them left later to drive mule and buggy to bring me back home. When I got to my sister's, I was sick, had fever. Well, I told Sister I was sick, and she looked at my chest and saw I was broke out with German measles. We started home in buggy. About halfway home was a country store, and Mama had stopped at the store and I was asleep. And I woke up and Mama was just talking to the lady and the children all around the buggy, and I was so sick. I raised up and I said, "Have y'all ever had the German measles?" And Mama drove off. So she didn't want to expose all them children there to the German measles, I reckon, and I was glad she got moving. Well, long after I got up, a good-sized boy, Midway Community, a settlement near where we lived, had a play. Annie V. Massey, a school teacher, was to lead in the play. She got the play and selected the ones to take part. I was selected to play the bad boy in school, and it was a school play. In fact, I had two parts in the play. I was a bad boy in school, and then I changed up to a gray-headed man, school superintendent, and when I was in being the bad boy, I was throwing spitballs, and behind on the wall was a book sack with some books in it. But as I went to throw a spitball, my hand caught on the book sack, and it came off and came off the wall and out toward the audience. I was scared I was going to hit somebody with that book sack, but as luck had it, the sack wound up and got caught on the curtain rope, and it scared the daylights out of me. Everybody thought, though, that I had done it on purpose. One Thanksgiving Day, a friend up in South Carolina invited a friend and I to go rabbit hunting. We went up to go hunting, but after hunting a while, there was such a crowd. It looked like Grandpa, Pa, and all the grandchildren and everybody was in the crowd. I was afraid we might get shot, so such a crowd, I asked the boy that invited me up there, and this friend of mine that just go to the Savannah River to hunt that afternoon. We'd go by my house and get dinner, and we'd go to the river and hunt some big cane cutter rabbits. My friend's wife was at my home for dinner anyway. As we had turkey for dinner, I had two of them to eat it at my house. And to go hunting that evening, we had two dogs, one big one and a little one, and we got to the river both in a cornfield. Two turkeys flew up and we went to the swamp. The two with me ran after the turkeys, and I went straight to the river. And when the boys got to where the turkeys landed, they flew up the river my way. And the next time they ran them out, they came by me and I killed one. He fell across the slough full of water. I had to find a log across the slough to go to get the turkey. I was ready to go home, but the others wanted to hunt. We killed 3 or 4 rabbits, but I had my Christmas turkey. And I want you all to grow up and be fine, grown folks and be sweet. Hope you have a good Christmas. Papa Fast.